Aloha, everyone. Welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday. This is for December 27th, 2023. And first, I would like to thank everybody that is here every single day, and then also for those who left comments yesterday. In particular, I had a couple of really interesting ones, and I love the extra views that others bring here, so that it's not just myself, but that we get a kind of full angles from different sides. I think that's how we learn best and as always can do your own research. So I want a special shout out to my friend Bears who brought this up, that the United States has already incorporated using artificial intelligence here in the United States at transportation fusion centers across the country. So this was in regards to what I was bringing up with France. They are using artificial intelligence in a gear up for the Olympics. So there will be a lot of facial recognition tracking. This type of surveillance going on is already in the United States, as well as in high use now by Customs and Border Patrol. So with immigration, when you come in and out, they've got facial recognition at the larger hubs. And right now it's unavoidable. You can't opt out. So I find that interesting. And what do we do about that? That's a thought. So for now, let's go into our markets. We do have the MMRI, our risk indicator, has dropped a bit. So it's at 243.8 at the moment. So the relative strength of the dollar and the 10-year yield have both weakened a bit. So I do expect a little bit of a change today, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But on these both being weak and risk basically being down at the moment, that is positive for the stock market. And right now it's in the green. Oil is under a bit of pressure, and gold is also rising. The futures, however, are telling a bit of different story. So investors kind of on that brink of the risk indicator in that full grade still, but we could see a change today, at least a little bit more chop in the market is what these statistics are basically pointing to. So for the calendar, it is still quite a light week. We are in between holidays. And a lot of traders have taken off for this week until after the New Year's. So we are expecting initial jobless claims and pending home sales, but this is for tomorrow. Just I put it here so that you can basically gear yourself forward if you're a swing trader, because they are prior to market open. So more important point I would like to bring up, and this is on yields. So we've got an update, and what is happening right now is the 10-year Treasury note. They inverted the short-term 2-year, basically rose slightly while the 10-year dropped. So we've been in an inverted position. That's what has caused a lot of the trouble for the banks, because they borrow at the longer end and loan out at the shorter end. So basically what we're watching here is the inversion is starting to reverse. And the reason this is so important is that historically, when these reverse and go back to quote unquote normal, is when recessions occur. So this could be a large indicator for what is going to be happening with this recession and the timing of it. So the sentiment at current, as I was saying right now, greed factor is still high, but could be changing. So we've got low volume in the trades, but still at the moment a slow continuance in the bullish up for stocks. So kind of looks like earlier morning will be kind of positive trades, but after that could change. So I've got a couple of things else I would like to mention. The US initial jobless claims, they're saying that those are ticking up, but they're really not looking at that right now because they're still near historic lows. And they're using this as an indicator mostly for the Fed as to whether they will put in cuts. But they will not put in cuts until the employment numbers change. So unemployment will have to, I think, likely double from here. They will have to increase before the Fed will consider doing a rate cut. And then the other issue that the United States is facing is that their government still hasn't come to an agreement on their spending bills, and they're facing another government shutdown again because they just keep pushing it forward. So, got a couple of stories with the banks. The first one, so it seems unrelated. It's about an employees' provident fund, basically the organization. But what this is talking about is their guidelines and timeframes for freezing any individual or establishment account for verification for up to 30 days, and then extendable for up to 14 days for additional due diligence to secure the funds for these accounts. So the reason I'm bringing this up is they're under the guise of possible frauds, impersonation, and forgery. But this basically gives them the ability to freeze funding in bank accounts at any point in time. So even though this is for a fund, most of the banks have this in place to where it's basically kind of like a bail-in law. So if you have your money in the banks, just understand that at any time they can implement whatever version of this is and freeze your funds. Okay? So always have some cash out, always have a backup in case they choose to do that. And then this other story came out with the 20 US banks with the most borrowing from the federal home loan banks. So why is this important? Is basically if they had a surge in lending, it is a major sign of instability for that bank, regardless of what they say. They all had to go through their stress testing, but this is reality. So, as the list of the top 20 banks, I'll try and leave the link to this one below. I don't know if it will be allowed in YouTube, but you can just Google it. So, a couple of other stories. So, we've got the basically the current U.S. administration saying the United States economy is in good shape. But still, many Americans are feeling left behind. Well, why is this? And that's because they're talking about how inflation is so much better now. And it has decreased. Was it 6%? It's come down to almost half at 3.1%. But it's still going up. So prices are still increasing by 3.1%, even though it's slower. It's still outpacing wages. People have used up their savings and they basically can't keep up with the difference here that's happening. So we're going to be watching that has to come down more. Otherwise, people have to lose their jobs, stop purchasing things. That will bring down the inflation even more below that threshold. And that's when they're going to get their reversion. But that's in basically recession depression. So we have been watching these buy now, pay later companies. And they came out with this other story about what to watch as far as the trends. They're talking about how wonderful these are. But the Monday after Thanksgiving, in this story, the BNPLs, buy now, pay later, they soared 42% over the same period last year. So you can say seasonal or whatever, but Thanksgiving last year was not like this. Soared 42% for all of these people taking these short unsecured loans. And that's what this is saying is that these are dangerous because these are loans that do not require a credit check and they don't report to the credit bureaus. So they know that they are pushing these loans because when they do, they're basically creating money and kind of floating things out, another way to kick the can down the road. And so going into banks, we were talking about the 20 going down. This one just kind of puts it out there directly, saying it was a tough year for almost every bank that's not named JP Morgan. So this other one concurs, saying JP Morgan takes almost a fifth of total US bank profits. That is massive. And a large way they're doing this is because the mergers and acquisitions, they overtook the other ones that are basically going out of business. So I want to get through a couple of other things here really quickly. We were talking about the shipping issues. So they're finally starting to bring this up, that it's costing weighing on the supply chain, going to have some holdups on that. And then Maersk decided to go ahead and begin going back through that shipping route. But Hapag-Lloyd has decided that they are not going to yet. They're still going to divert to the longer trek. Okay, so moving through with a couple of lava updates, there was something that I wanted to bring out. Uh, this one is talking about uh, a warning that we got basically from State Department about traveling, because now they're saying that it's more likely that American citizens can be held on basically any charges by foreign governments, and there's an uptick in cases. So just being careful about where you're traveling to because things can happen. And then this is just an interesting story about scientists and to think about why they're studying these things. But scientists have developed a robotic procedure that can make you hear hallucinatory voices. And they have kind of linked these to negative feedback, but just I'm always asking questions about things that are not exactly the story. And like I said, why would they be studying this? So, with that, I wish you a great trading day, just a wonderful day in general. Thank you all again so much for everything you've done. Your comments, they contribute greatly, and I appreciate you all. So, until I see you again, my friends, stay free.